Hey you guys, welcome back to another episode of Resilience with your host, me, Wintertooth100. And before we get started today, I need to do a quick assessment and organize some of these chests, or shulkers, I suppose, and figure out what materials we have still an abundance of and what materials we need to go collect. Because today we're going to start designing the backside of this snow temple. Still don't have a better name for it at this moment. It's still just Snow Temple. So we are going to, we're going to quickly do that and get everything kind of sorted and organized again and kind of determine if we need to take a quick break and head back to the main land and do a little bit of resource gathering. I'm hoping we don't need to do that. I'd like to jump directly into designing these things. There is something that immediately stands out to me, and that is all of the buildings have the chisel block at the base of them. All of them. They all have this chisel block, which means we could very easily, while we're collecting and organizing those materials, just put a stack or two of the chisel blocks in our inventory, and we can actually do the very first layer of these builds because they're all exactly the same. So let me run over there really quick, and we're going to organize, and I will see you guys in just a moment. So as it turns out, really the only material that we haven't completely run out of it, but very close, we're very nearly out of it, is this dark oak. So I think I'm going to spend a little bit here, and we're going to cut down all these trees, probably replant them and cut them down, and we'll probably repeat that 2 or 3 times. Yeah, we want to get a nice healthy chunk of these. These are in fact the roofs of all of the builds that go into that make up this castle. The other material, which we don't need as much, but because we're going to be in inventing mode for the rest of these buildings, are the vines, so we can have access to plenty of the mossy. I keep hearing me walk on the snow, and I keep thinking it's something sneaking up on me. So yes, we're going to cut these down, we're going to harvest plenty of the vines, and then we should be pretty good to get into, I'm going to call it true building mode. Oh, it's the snow on top of the leaves I'm hearing. Oh, that's freaking me out. Okay, wow. But moving on from that, if we take a moment to look down in the description below at the title of this video, you'll notice it's going to say something along the lines of Resilient 2-40. That means that this is in fact the 40th episode of Resilient. In fact, that this officially marks, I mean, I think technically it marked it a few episodes ago, but this officially marks that this is the longest running series on my channel, or that I have ever done. I don't believe, it could be a close call with building Skyward Sword. I don't know how many episodes of that I actually did, because I lost that, and I explained that in an older video why I don't have those episodes and why I can't reference them anymore to even see how many I had. But that makes Resilient 2 officially the longest thing I've sat down and committed to, and I'm incredibly proud of that. Also, that means we are going to be 10 episodes away from this episode hitting that magical 50 number, that half of 100, that oh goodness, it's kind of hard to wrap my mind around. 50 episodes, that is just around the corner, couple weeks. Yeah, wow. So what I'd like for you guys to do is to go down to the comments below and leave me a bunch of comments. Do it for this video, do it for the last video, do it for the next few videos. Whenever the inspiration hits you and you feel like sharing or you want to see it, let me know in the comments. Regardless of the video, I'll find them. What you'd like to see me do for that. I can build something, I can do something, maybe we can do a special event with the other members of the server. Maybe there's like a Q&A and you guys have a bunch of questions. Like, you just throw it all out there. Just ask a bunch of questions. Maybe I'll just do like a conglomerate of all of the stuff you guys suggest to the best of my ability. And we'll try to make episode 50 something a little special. Not to say that what we're doing here isn't special. We are building our own personal Zelda map after all. I mean, how many people do that, or get to do that for that matter, build their own Zelda game? Because that's what I'm doing. Anyway, let me cut away, because cutting these trees I'm sure isn't super entertaining, and hearing all these leaves break like there's people approaching me is trippy. So I'm gonna cut down these trees, I'm gonna harvest these vines, I'm gonna replant these trees, I'm gonna reharvest those vines, and I will be back with you guys in just a moment. Alright guys, so I have done some reorganizing, and we are going to be heading into the belly of the beast, the courtyard itself. And oops, clicking too fast for my own good. There we go. You can see I've already placed in all of the chiseled stone bricks like I said I was going to. We are going to very quickly and very randomly decide where are the doors going to be for these 3 buildings. They're probably subject to change based on how we end up eventually creating this courtyard in here, because that'll be a part of the maze of it. But I think a safe bet would probably be to, you know, lean closely to each side of it. That's right, I don't got space for you. We're gonna lose you because I stacked up. Oh, not quite. Hold on. Let's get these bad boys in, and we'll just punch these out, and we'll just place those in. Once we got the doors in, we can place the actual doors in. Let's see. What would make sense for you? So if we had a courtyard and it was a maze-like structure, perhaps this section gets divided from this section and from over there like this. So that door is unique to that side. This door is unique to this corner, and then we have a door over there that's unique to that section. I like that. I think we're just going to design how these buildings look and save the actual puzzles of it for another time. I did ask a bunch of questions in the last episode, and I did have some responses. Based on the number of people responding, you could say I had a really good percentage of votes for various things, which is a little misleading considering not a lot of people gave their opinion, but just enough did, mind you. Just enough people did, and we're going to take it to heart. And it's going to be nighttime in a second. What did I do with the other bed? Is it still in this building? Yeah, there it is. Let's just take you with me. Based on the people giving their opinions on the last episode, I think once we're done with the facade here at Snow Temple, and that will include at least defining the maze on the outside, or maybe not. Maybe we skip the maze altogether and it's something we come back to. But based on comments from the last episode, I think it'd be a safe bet to just go ahead and start building these temples in the order that they are meant to be played in. There are 2 caveats off the top of my head. 3 caveats off the top of my head. I know I want to let players come through and play the temples one at a time as they get solved, but I also don't want to take away anything from a player's exploration, because that's half the point of a fun Zelda game, is being able to explore. I don't want to take away from anybody's ability to explore and discover new things because something isn't built yet. So for example, let's just use some blocks as our palette, and we'll use true north. So north, south, east, west. We have Castle Town roughly in the north. We have a volcano roughly in this direction. We have a forest temple roughly over there. We have Kakariko Village roughly right here. Hyrule Field, we'll just give it a big block, is roughly like that. We have a desert temple here. We have another thing in the desert over here. We have the lake here, and we have the snow temple right over here. So if a player comes into my map, the very first place that they're going to end up is in the center of Hyrule Field. They are going to find that certain directions, like going towards the volcano, their pathway's just blocked. They can't get a certain distance. It's going to be blocked. they're also going to find that the pathway going to the forest is also blocked because they haven't completed anything. These are things that I know that the temple's already, or that the map's already going to be doing. You'll be able to get to the lake, but you won't be able to access the temple there. And if you guys recall seeing it or have seen it, you'll know that there's some sheer cliffs from the lake leading to the snow temple. So you also won't be able to get up there yet. So these will be also inaccessible. So you have a bunch of inaccessible areas. But the desert does have entry, and so does Kakariko Village, and so does Castletown. So if I'm going to make the first temple available, which, without referencing my notes, I believe it is the Forest Temple, I do have to have Castletown built, which means I also have to have the facade for the castle itself. At the very least, the facade for the castle done. I have to have Kakariko Village done. Oh, there's one more spot I forgot about. There is the graveyard. So yeah, I have to have the facade for that done. I have to have Kakariko Village done. I at least have to have the facade for the Desert Temple done. I have to have this building done completely, give or take some bits actually totally needing to be complete, but it needs to be functional to a point, and it has to have the facade complete. This will be the trickiest one. The facade needs to be complete, and the bits inside of it that you are going to need to do have to be complete, correlating with the temple that gives you the item to complete it. So the Forest Temple will unlock a room there because the item grants you access. The volcano place, the Fire Temple, gives you an item which grants you access to a different room here. So we're going to have to complete this as we complete those things. So as long as the facade is done and the area correlating to the one temple that's going to be open to them at the moment is done, then that should be good to go. But yes, we'll need the facade there. Oh, I forgot another place. There is another place here. And if we're going to show that off, then we need to show off that area as well. See how big this map is? It's ridiculous. There's so much going on with it. So we got Upper Hyrule Field, and this represents Lower Hyrule Field. I wasn't going to show it off because it wasn't super relevant, but if I'm going to show off every part, you know, we're going to show off every part. So Upper and Lower Hyrule Field, there's actually division between them. And this over here is the Sky Temple. So it's outside. It's technically in the desert, but it's outside of the desert. You can't walk to it. So if we have everything plotted out correctly, we have to have Kakariko done, Castle Village done. I'm counting on my fingers. We have to have the Forest Temple done because that's the first temple you'll actually face. We have to have the Hall of the Hero done. We have to have the facade of the Desert Temple and the actual castle done. And because they have access to the lake, I have to have at least the facade of the Water Temple done. That is 4 builds that need to be complete and 3 that need the facades at a minimum. And then the graveyard. So that's 4 facades at a minimum and 4 builds that need to be done. And Snow Temple isn't one of any of those things. So right now we're building something that doesn't correlate to any of the other things needing to be done. We came and did Snow Temple because this is the project. I knew what it looked like and I was super excited to do, and I wanted to keep my excitement up for you guys. So that's why we're here building that. It's just funny that now that we're looking at this, it's totally clear to me that this has nothing to do with the facades, and it has nothing to do with the temples that need to be done. And by need to be done, I mean inside and out. They need to have their facade and the inside, the actual puzzles done before we can have a player come here. So that's 4 places that need to be completely built 100% and 4 places that need to be done 50% before we can have any one player come here to even do the first temple. If we want them to be able to explore everything and get the feeling of exploring. Otherwise, it's gonna be Kakariko would have to be done, Hall of Hero will have to be done, and Forest Temple would have to be done, and we'd have to block the pathway to everything else and somehow create a division in the desert to keep them from finding areas that aren't complete yet. And that's, even though that's way easier, that's 3 places instead of 8, That feels super boring to me. Could you imagine joining a world in Zelda, and after you get through all the tutorial bits that it makes you usually go through, not being able to explore the world because things just aren't done? So no matter how much you've completed these 2 areas, you just can't continue? I think that would be a little boring. I like the idea of being able to let them come in here and explore a little bit. Obviously, yeah, there's going to be areas that they can't get to, but you know, based on how big this map is and how much they will be able to explore, I think that'll be enough to get them excited about it. I think it'll be enough to get you guys excited about it, and I think that's going to be the goal. So if we are going to do that, we need to make a plan of action. I think next we're going to build Kakariko Village because it will just simply be the easiest place to build. And after that, we'll do the facade for the graveyard because the graveyard will also be really easy because it's not a very big area. In fact, it's not big at all. And if I'm being totally honest, and maybe my brain's just being a little frazzled, I think if we just looked at the edges of where the walls are going to be for this courtyard area of this castle, this is the size of the graveyard, like the entire graveyard. So it's not that big comparably to the whole map. So once those 2 areas are done, we can then come back down to the desert and start building the Hall of the Hero. Then we'll come up to the Forest Temple and start building on that. If we don't have, or if we have our items by then, I can't build the inside of the temple until we have the temple item to test things with. In which case we might start doing facades and waiting until we have that. But I have rambled for a super long time now. Let me get some basic structure design on at least this build part of it, and I'll see you guys in a moment. Alright, so if we want to keep this brief, we're going to have to be quick about it. That last little spiel about where the things are in this map, that took a lot longer than I thought it did. But I've kind of been tinkering around with this. I haven't put the windows in yet, but it's loosely based on this particular design. And there's still more I want to do with the roof of the first part, so when I start looking up at it, yeah, there we go. I added a new tower. This is something that I didn't want to lose, and that is the height of these builds. Did not want to lose the height whatsoever, but I also wanted to increase the area that we're covering. And you know, this courtyard, I think, will cover our area for us. And don't forget, we are on a high Y level. I think we're on Y88. Okay, we're on 88 right here. Which means we actually have a lot of underground options. If we do need more space, we can always, you know, have one of these buildings enter and go underground and then have a bunch of underground stuff. But as far as the facade's concerned, we wanted it to be grand, and we can actually kind of, this is how I've been getting up and down, is just pillaring and tearing it down over and over again. There was a certain point where I just decided to fly. And we put the extra block there so we don't have to, you know, search for it. But we can pillar to the top if we so chose. We're not going to. I only wanted to come up to this floor so we can see the how we merged this tower. Basically, we just carved it out until it sat on top of here, which is perfectly fine. If we really wanted to, I don't think it's going to become an issue or anything. We could flatten out this, like, concave it in here and give it a more flat feel so we could add a door and be able to walk into that. But I don't think that's going to be entirely necessary. And the back half is still open here because there's going to be this big tower, and I intend for this to be much taller than this. Not as tall as the tower that's poking out from this build. The main tower on the front of it that we see, I want that to be the tallest point. And I want to leave that there, so in case I need to go back up for any reason, we want that tower to be the tallest tower. That's, you know, it's always been on my mind that that was the tallest, peakiest point, and I don't want to lose that. Let's see if I can get airborne. There we go. Easy enough to get airborne today. But you can see that that tower is not as tall as the original tower that it's kind of based off of. but it does have a unique roof. As I was building it, I quickly realized that the direction that the peak of this roof was going to go was going to eclipse that. I quickly cut it off and created 4 individual towers with it, 4 individual peaks, and I actually like the way this looks a lot. And if we come to the front of it, even though they're similar in height, if we come to the front, and if we're down here in the maze area, which I mentioned in the last episode, that this was going to be kind of a maze, as you're working your way through it, that's kind of your view so far. I'm anticipating this building over here having its own tower. Maybe we'll cut it off a little shorter so we have different peaks. And with that big tower in the back, we might be able to see the top of it in the back there. So, oh man, it's looking so cool. That additional tower just adds so much depth because look how much quicker it hits that fog than this front tower does. Oh, that's nice. That is really nice. So as we're backing up through here, yeah, that's really cool. I really like that a lot. There is a point where it is totally silhouetted. Can't really make it out, but we can still kind of see the details of the tower in the front. This thing is so much more than what I intended it to be, and it is so much more glorious, and I'm so thrilled with it. I cannot wait to see how the rest of this turns out. Yeah, you can tell I'm getting really excited about it, which is a big part of why I ended up building so much of it off camera. I just get so excited about how it's going to look visually that I get way ahead of myself. But I do still need to add in all of the windows on the actual main building part of it, and I'll just have to do that also off camera. But for now, we are going over our 20-minute timer. I'm sure of that, so I should have stayed out there. There we go. So with that, that's going to be it for today's episode, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you like, subscribe if you haven't, share with your friends, hit that notification bell, and I will see you guys in the next one.